Last man. Last man, yeah.
Maori Koye. He doesn't know what's going on.
Doesn't know what's going on.
Eti break up. Eti daru.
You're not informed.
You are not informed.
I was not informed at all. Eti gbe community gbẹ̀yìn mi.
Great community, right? Well, no, next time.
Wallo, one now.
Miss the Super Bowl.
Wallo.
Sínú Super Bowl. So Super Bowl ló dá marriage wa rú báyìí. Hey, ọdún.
Ìkọ́ máa ń gba ẹ̀yìn etí ẹ̀ kọjá àdìgò kí gba iwájú.
Oga, I knew what you were saying. I just wanted to do that for the fans anyway.
Oga.
We move.
We actually have to move. Hello guys, welcome to another episode of the On About Nothing podcast. To be honest, the fact that I was even able to drag Akin here today is a plus, because at some point I was not so sure, and after the technical difficulties that Bright and Bullish experienced last week, it's a miracle that we are here, because I don't know what's happening with StreamYard lately. I think the best place to even start is the last time we were on air, we spoke about Formula One and we spoke about Ferrari's strategy and all the drama that happened after that first race. LMJ, while we're thinking that Jack Doohan was the driver under the most pressure, and because yes, he's still under pressure. Let's not even dispute ourselves. He's still under pressure. It feels like there's Franco Colapinto breathing over his neck, and Alpine are not convinced yet. I think what we didn't necessarily see coming was the whole Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda drama that happened last week after the Shanghai Grand Prix. Because let's face it, yes, initially to the non-biased Formula One fan, Yuki should have gotten the seat. He was the more deserved driver, more experienced. He has shown that he can do well with racing bulls and stuff like that. Then Red Bull decided that they didn't even give a look to Yuki Tsunoda. They were like, leave that one, which made some people say that this is Red Bull again. When we accuse people of being racist, you will say no. Now, when you do things like this, you're trying to protest our points, blah, blah, blah. They didn't give him a look. They went to Liam Lawson. They said his mental toughness is the reason why they like him and all those things, that he would do well. That's fine. That's no problem. You've gone with him. Whether he deserves the place or not, he's gone. But to then decide that after 2 races, which, to be honest, he has performed woefully, because if you're in a Red Bull Cup finishing 19th and 18th, it kind of sounds ludicrous. Do you get? But ultimately, still 2 races, like 1, 2. Out of 23 races, we've done 1, 2. And you're like, now you are putting enormous pressure on Yuki Tsunoda. What do I mean by enormous pressure on Yuki Tsunoda? Is in the sense that I watched a video of Alex Albon talking about his time with Red Bull, and the car is designed for Max Verstappen. He said, like, according to Albon, the way the sensitivity of the car is designed to suit Max. Everything, yes.
It's adjusted. To suit Max. Everything, like, to the finest details, is adjusted to, this is how Max drives. This is how we like to do it for Max and every other thing. Let's not kid our viewers or mislead our viewers. The car, they've not been throughout precision testing and everything. They've not shown any sign of progress at all. The car has not been great. It has barely been good. Max Verstappen has been doing an awesome job driving that car and even getting the podiums that he has gotten. But it's obvious that the cars are adjusted to suit Max Verstappen. Last season, when Sergio Perez was struggling, we were like, Perez is getting older, maybe he has lost it, blah, 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 and everything. They were seeing Liam Lawson struggling, like, Perez might actually get his seat next year. Maybe it was not the problem. Maybe it was not really the problem. So now, if you are Yuki Tsunoda, Bright, is it a case of, this is the big seats? The main aim of being in Racing Bulls, Red Bull's junior team, is to be able to go to Red Bull, try and compete for a championship, blah, 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 and everything. Or do you look at it that, these people are trying to set you up to fail? No, I think the best that Yuki can do is try to make the best out of this situation. Because while he was driving the VCAB, we saw that he has the potential. We saw that he is up to the task. Like, for the fact that he could get those points he got on VCAB,
shows that Yuki is a very talented driver. Yuki is a driver that can deliver in almost any vehicle in the paddock. But the fact remains that the Red Bull car is a different ballgame entirely. And we've seen this progression over the years. We've seen it with different teammates that Verstappen has had. Now, it wouldn't do justice to not say that the only way that Red Bull can actually do stay competitive and win races the way they've been winning races over the past 9 years that Max has been with them was actually the way they've been doing it. I would not lie to you. That has been, or that has and is the way that they can stay competitive. You know, we're saying it in the very first F1 pod we had. We're saying that the Red Bull's car is the fourth on the grid, and the fact that is the fourth fastest on the grid, and the fact that if we are still saying Verstappen is in distance, is in contention for the title, it goes to show the pedigree that Verstappen has, and we can see he has been on pole because he has been pushing this car to the very limit. Like, take whatever grievances you may have against Max, you cannot deny it that in this particular generation, he is the best driver. And Red Bull is just trying to maximize whatever it is they can get from that car. I feel like his teammates will just be victim of circumstances. Now, a lot of people have been saying they shouldn't have given Lawson in the first place. They should change him. Now they are changing him. People are saying it's just the fact that you cannot please humans. And the fact is, I feel like there's two sides to this story. It's a blessing and it's a curse. In the sense that when Liam now performs in the VCAP, people will now be like, you know what? Liam is not a bad driver after all. He was just a victim of circumstance. But the fact remains that if they had left Liam in Red Bull and he kept tanking, his stock will keep reducing. Because if by say after race 10, 12 is at the tail bottom of the table, at that point, nobody would want to say he was handed a bad hand. Everybody would be like, maybe it's not really good after all. People would be like, you know what? Max is driving the same car. But you're forgetting that Max has 9 experience driving this car and helping fine-tune this car to whatever position it's going to be right now. You're forgetting the fact that Liam Lawson is a rookie. He doesn't have that experience. His drive style is very different. He likes to cut far from the corner. Like, these are some of the things that the average fan don't know and wouldn't care to know. So I think they're doing him a whole lot of good by swapping him with Yuki, in the sense that when he now performs, I am a strong believer that he will perform in the VCAP. I am a strong believer that he will perform in the VCAP. Come April 6th, Grand Prix in Japan, people will be like, he's getting points. It might not just be 4 points, it might just be 2 points, but I am very sure he will be in contention for points. So it's almost like they are trying to salvage both teams, and at the same time, they might be sabotaging both teams. Why? Because for them to now compete with Mercedes and McLaren, they would need both cars to be in points. It is just the truth. Look at how superb the McLaren drivers have been doing. The discussion is now, should Piastri be given more preference than Lando Norris?
Superb, but good.
So, like, Red Bull would need both cars to be in contention for points. Either it's 8th and 2nd, 8th and 7th and 1st. The second car would have to be in points for them to be in close proximity to whoever is going to win. I don't believe they'll win the Constructors' Championship. I think they might, maybe by middle of the season, if they can work on the car more and get it as close to McLaren as possible, Max will be able to push aggressively and probably still win the title. But I am saying it is over for Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship.
The only reason I'm not even going to say it's not over is obviously there's in-season progress. We saw McLaren's in-season progress last year. They went from, okay, maybe we're the fourth best for like half of the season, second half of the season, they had the fastest car. There was no debates. The car was rapid, and they've maintained that pace. And the reason why I wouldn't call their drivers superb is that so far under pressure, both of them look like they can buck. Like under pressure, they look like okay. You know what? Lando Norris, yes, he suffered technical issues. He was so close to dropping that second position in Shanghai. Yeah, he had a brake issue that he had to manage and every other thing. But his comment at the beginning of the season about pressure of dealing with winning the title, they're not seasoned. There's no Verstappen or Hamilton in that team, whereby bring it. Do you understand? Even when we saw in the sprints in China, where it looked like, okay, Verstappen might bring it to Hamilton, maybe in the third or fourth lap. I'm just like, no problem, bring it. Do you understand? I'm not going to balk under pressure. And if you remember vividly, there was a time a few seasons back after Nico Rosberg got retired. I think Charles Leclerc or one younger driver did a fantastic job of holding up Hamilton. And Nico Rosberg said something that holding like Hamilton hunting you, or drivers like that, Hamilton, Verstappen, Fernando Alonso at his best, when they are hunting you down, it's going to feel like the world is about to come down, because if you make one mistake, they are going to push you to the points that you are going to make a mistake and they will be there waiting for you. So I'm not saying that Norris and Piastri can get to that point, but so far we've not seen it. And definitely time will tell, because now there's a lot of pressure on both of them. That car is not a car, it is a machine. Like, it is absolutely rapid. When I mean rapid, we're watching some of these qualifying, the highlights and everything. You're like,
bro, before the safety car in Australia, before the safety car, there was a 18-second gap between first and second, between Lando Norris and Verstappen. 18 seconds. 18 seconds. For those that know Formula One, you know how crazy it is.
That's
18 seconds. Wow.
So even the sprint qualifying pole position that Hamilton had in Shanghai that Friday, the lap Norris was on before he made a mistake in the third sector was going to shatter the entire record of the Grand Prix itself. The lap that Norris was just flying. Then he made that mistake and they knew that, okay, there's no point, just coming to the garage. So they have that car. It now depends on how those guys can translate the pressure, because other teams would improve. And speaking of teams improving, Aki, I know that as a Tifosi, a huge fan of Ferrari, do you get? We love Ferrari and every other thing. Sometimes they give us high BP. The strategies that you get from Ferrari sometimes can break you. Because Australia.
Is it wait, because before you land your question, because it seems like you're just going to emphasize more on like the strategy. Are you not going to talk about the car as well?
No, I'm coming. I'm going to get to the car. Do you understand? I'm going to get to the car. Let's start from the let's take like the Italians. Let's start from the strategy. The strategy itself. In Australia, when it started to rain, and you notice that, okay, Hamilton had made up progress, was second behind Lando Norris, Leclerc had come to third. You saw Lando go into the pit to go and switch to wet tires. Then in the genuinity of Ferrari, they were like, you know what, it might not really rain that long. You get to do one extra lap. Let's see first. Let's just see. Do you understand? Hamilton, don't be angry. Let's just see what's going to happen in the wet. And next thing you know, if both of you remember, only two drivers did not struggle in the rain in Australia: Verstappen and Hamilton. At one point, both Piastri, Norris, even Alonso crashed.
Because they are not new to this. Like, they've been tested and trusted for years now.
Not even new to this. They are extremely talented drivers. Yes. When Ferrari failed both Leclerc and Hamilton with their strategy, they finished whether P7 and P9 or what have you. No problem. Let's go to Shanghai.
You know why? Sorry, you know why I even mentioned that those guys are actually experienced, because when Hamilton's father was working one of the newcomer drivers, because of
Isaac Hadjar,
they've not been exposed to that situation, so it can be very tumultuous for them. You understand? So as long as you've never experienced that, forget, you're going to have a bad day. But it's okay. You don't have to feel bad about it. It's part of the lesson.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead with your.
So now we get to Shanghai. Yeah, Friday, Saturday, you showed good pace, which is fantastic, and everything. Like, okay, the car is quite.
They were stringing all the fans along, man.
Yeah, the car is then. For some reason, before final qualifying, you decided, see this car that is fast. let's tweak it. Do you understand? Let's just see if we tweak it a little bit. You know, maybe it can be faster. I don't have an issue with that. Then when you now took it to the point whereby not only is the car becomes slower, you now start getting penalties for it that ended up in disqualification. That means whatever exercise you did in Shanghai on Sunday, it was just free. They were just free practice. You wanted to see how the car is going to go. Now, the problem is, I think Bright mentioned it 2 weeks ago that Ferrari's long-term plan should be next year. The rule changes. Hopefully, you can give Hamilton the car next year. But Akin, if you are Hamilton, won't you look at it that at least give me something first? Do you understand? Just give me something.
Yeah. That's. I mean, let's not lie now. Like, there's this. If you're going to, if don't promise me something that you can't actually make. Like, at least give me a taste of what to expect. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants something that, okay, yeah. I'd rather just.
Is it just me or did we lose Akin?
I think we lost him.
Okay, I think we lost him technically. So it just feels like give me something. Do you understand? Let's whatever it is that we're going to do in 2026. Let me see it now. Now
Let us have a glimpse. Like, let us have an idea of what we are going to be.
Yeah, it's one thing to say that okay, maybe we have not gotten the car right. You can develop the car as the season goes. When you start making mistakes for weights, how balanced the car is supposed to, your downforce, plank measurements, strategy. That's not a good look on both the team principal and the rest of the engineers in the team. Do you get? Because I know that, how do I put it? The English media, I've already said it, they don't deserve Hamilton. I wish it was from the US because they don't deserve Hamilton. Daily Mail was quick to write an article like, Hamilton disobeys team orders, refuses to let Charles Leclerc through. Only for Frederick Vasseur, the team principal, to come out and say, you guys need to do your job properly. The fact that the FIA did not give you that particular audio doesn't mean it didn't happen. Ferrari had to release the audio to tell the world that Hamilton was the one that said, I'm struggling. I think we should let Leclerc through so that he can continue to go on. Then after they said, okay, no problem, we'll let him through in turn, whatever that they agreed on. Hamilton started to gain some pace again and told the engineer that I will let you know when I'll let you know when we can let him through. Just because they missed the first part of the audio, it didn't mean that weirdly wrote an article. Hamilton disobeys Ferrari team orders, blah blah blah. I'm like, it's British. Now imagine if it was from Senegal or another place.
They for don't roast them. For don't roast them shop.
Anyway, we have Akin back. Akin, you were trying to explain the fact that Ferrari gave you false hope.
Yeah, I mean, sorry about that. A call came in. So if you can't keep promising and not like at least show some little bit of fight in you, and that's what Hamilton actually expects. If you're gonna say, oh yeah, I mean we could do something with this car by next season, like show some glimpse right now. This is an opportunity to like go all in and be able to like arrive at whatever destination it might be maybe next season. But those guys, these past 2 races, it feels like as if it's been more of like a personnel problem than even the car, or even the person that knows that the driver himself. So I don't know. It shows that we all know Ferrari for crying out. Ferrari is a big brand. Now, what are we saying? And you are having some people making certain decisions that doesn't make any sense. You say was complaining that the seat is wet. You say maybe it's the water. Things like that don't make any sense. And I like Formula One. They will televise it. In fact, it was on their Instagram page like this, and I reposted it because it was so funny. That was let's add that to the words of wisdom because it makes you are repeating what I just said. What are you saying?
I'm telling you that.
I'm telling you, you are repeating this back to me.
If the guy had said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," at that point, I'm sorry.
We don't know where the water. We don't know where the leakage is coming from. We'll sort it later. Like simple,
exactly. Like only maybe it's water. What are you saying now? And then you have somebody that was telling Hamilton, make turn, Oh, you turn the whole driver into a newbie. A seven-time champion.
You told her to that formula. Make
sure, turn left, turn right.
You know what was crazy in that situation was the guy kept saying, "Oh, K1 is available," like one of the buttons that was on.
Yeah, it's available. Also, yeah.
And everything is like, I know.
You know.
I know. Just
if I wanted to be, and they say Hamilton is rude. If I was Hamilton, I wanted to be rude. I would say that's why I'm the driver. You are the DC. Honestly, because at that point in time, you're no longer listening. It's true now. You're no longer listening. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm the driver, and you are the. Just the guy was even telling, please. I know, please. He also feel please. He
was really please again. I know, please.
You understand? Like he's a rookie or something. The guy has been driving since 2007, and he's telling you that.
I think they need to line every members of those constructor or whatever. They line them out, and those involved with strategy, and say, this is your driver. He's a 7 times. Come on, let them bring him to their 7-time Formula 1. Because
do you guys want to listen to one of my conspiracy theories? Ferrari has made too much money from Hamilton coming to their team that they've dropped the ball. Everybody's now relaxed. Like everybody's now like, we've hit our quota. Because for many people that don't know, the chunk of the money that manufacturers make is not from the grid. It's not from F1 race. It's from the ability to market the fact that you can build reliable, fast cars and sell more units of cars.
Yeah.
You get now their stock has increased astronomically. They've sold more Ferrari. I think they sold a portion of a particular car that is selling the whole year in a quarter when Hamilton joined. So they met all milestones. So everybody's like, you know what? We met our yearly milestone in March. So what are we looking for again?
It all makes for an interesting watch because obviously, like Elemeje mentioned, Suzuka is next week, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. Hopefully, Ferrari gives me less drama and actual action because
and it's not. So let me just point you this last fact. Nobody is expecting, or I mean, we fans of like Hamilton. I mean, I think for me, I can speak for myself. I'm maybe one of the most realistic person. I wasn't expecting the case of, oh yeah, he's going to come there and he's going to eat it from the jump. No, it's. I mean, that's being unrealistic for. I mean, that's having too high of an expectations, honestly, because you're going to have to settle in. But the fact that you've been here before, the fact that you are a 7-time champion, shows. I mean, you can easily get acclimatized to the situation or to a new car. A driver is a driver, regardless of whatever car he finds himself. But it's not left for the people that is back or Ferrari to just make smart decisions, honestly, and do right by that guy, because it's possible you can be close to like whoever the champion is going to be this year by just how many points if they get their strategies and if they get the car right. Because number one, there is a 7-time. Don't forget, there is a 7-time driver behind that wheel. So, I mean, I just wanted to point that out, and let's see what happens because it's still like the second race in the year.
Because of the level of competition that is available. Because I didn't expect George Russell to finish third in Shanghai, because it shows you that the Mercedes car is actually faster than we give it credit for.
Or just
I was saying it 2 weeks ago. I was saying it 2 weeks ago that the Mercedes car is the second fastest on that grid.
Faster than we actually thought. It's not even about George Russell.
It's faster than everybody's giving attention. Look at how Kim is doing. Like, for Christ's sake, let's be sincere.
So my question now is that, was it because they were able to learn from the last season or what?
Of course. I think they were able to learn from last season, where obviously they were able to learn from the mistakes that they made last season. And if you remember vividly, at some point before the mid-season break and after the mid-season break, when Hamilton won those 2 races, George Russell won about 2 races too. We saw that Mercedes they were trying to get some things right, like some things were getting balanced. Obviously, it fell off at the end, but most times the reason why some things will fall off at the end is you know that you're out of the constructors, you know you're out of the world title, you switch your attention to the next season. Everything is about, okay, what's next season going to feel like? Development stops for the current season and just maintaining the current season. So, especially the reason why I even said it's faster than people credit for is towards the end of the race in Shanghai, when Leclerc, I say Leclerc, Norris was experiencing the braking issue whereby he couldn't brake as it would normally do. So he had to be driving a bit slower just so that he could at least take the car over the line. You needed to see, the minute they told George Russell that you can't catch him, you needed to see the way that car was flying at some point. I was like, so there's this kind of pace in this car. Like this car has this kind of race pace yet, and they've not been able to push, because it's one thing to be like, oh, let's push. And like I mentioned, it's just 2 races. Everyone is still having a feel for where the car is. Okay.
Can I ask another question also? I mean, for those that are maybe Formula, on that behalf and all that, do you think these all Formula One race and everything? Do you think? I'm pretty sure it makes car brands actually popular. Do you think more people actually invest in buying these cars? Do they contribute to more people like buying some of these cars? Like,
let me answer a question before Elemete speaks. You know that Ferrari is in Formula One. Ferrari is the only team that's been in every season of Formula One. That's why they get that legacy payment. The only reason Lamborghini, who happens to be Ferrari's rival in terms of car production, is not in Formula One is because Lamborghini's biggest fear is if we come into Formula One and we do not hit it right, maybe we're out of 10 teams or 11 teams, we're 8th or 9th, sales will crash. Let's not go there. That's how much impact Formula One has on these cars. Before the new rule changes came in 2020, where there was the cap for 2021, like the cap of you can't spend more than 150 million on the car and everything. There was no cap before. Mercedes spent 450 million in 2019 on cars, driver, salaries, everything entirely.
Sorry, can I ask a question more like
Okay.
immediately? So if you say Lamborghini is more like their competitor, Ferrari's competitor, right? Is it based on speed or just the brand as a whole?
It's based on the entire package that they sell. Don't forget that people buy these sports cars for the feeling of speed. When rich people
That's
buy,
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if you consider Lamborghini as Ferrari's competitor, like don't you think there's just more to it? Because then again, you're just using the factor saying like speed is, I mean, based off the comparison you're using, right?
yes, yes, speed is.
Don't you think they want to take that risk, or there's something else again involved in a way?
Do you know that sometimes the optics when it comes to selling these cars and the branding is Ferrari and Lamborghini, especially if you watch that movie that was telling the story of how the rivalry started and all those things. It's a massive rivalry, especially in Europe. Ferrari and Lamborghini have that rivalry already. Ferrari is known in Formula One. If for any reason Lamborghini show up to Formula One and do not at least compete with Ferrari, the market becomes
We swing towards Ferrari.
If Ferrari is better than Lamborghini, why do you have to buy a Lamborghini?
Like,
Ferrari.
It's almost like F1 will now be the judge of quality between Ferrari and Lamborghini. Everybody that is still buying Lamborghini before will be like, you know what? For the past 3 seasons, Lamborghini they've never been up to par with Ferrari. So Ferrari is
based off on what
now, you have to understand that
what you guys just said now. What then made Mercedes Benz like boom? Everyone started like looking into Mercedes Benz
because they were winning.
This same optics.
When I said 400,
they took a gamble now. At the end of the day, they took a gamble as well.
Yeah, but it was a gamble that fitted their brand. It fitted their brand. And
where I was going to was when the year they spent 450 million on car, everything involved in Formula One. They spent 452 million. They made 450 million. They were not making profits. Do you understand? There was no profit from Formula One. There was no profit that came from Formula One to Mercedes. They even lost money. But off the track sales had gone through the roof. Do you get? And so for the powers that be at Mercedes, it would be, you know what, Toto, just keep doing whatever it is that you are doing there. Any amount of budgets you need, we'll find a way around it. Just keep doing. Don't worry whether you lost 2 million or 5 million. We'll be fine. That's how Formula One itself works. Like, majority of the money comes from sponsorship and off the track car sales. that feeling itself, McLaren is well known in the UK. It's a fast brand and every other thing. If Aston Martin are also in, how do I put it, in Formula One as well. So if
Just so
those,
Talowa wa Red Bull.
no, see, for
Red Bull is following a different strategy entirely. It's a different strategy entirely.
Red Bull strategy is not even about selling the cars. Red Bull's money is not even coming from just their drink sales alone. They follow a different strategy. There's a reason why Red Bull sponsors all those crazy jumps you see. The guy that broke the record for ski jump and everything. There's a reason why Red Bull sponsor it. Because ultimately, the average person is thinking, energy drink kind of helps you do. So Red Bull's strategy is completely different. Red Bull goes for things that you're not going to imagine. So they make sales that way. Their aim is not to sell cars and every other thing. No, their own strategy, how they make money is completely different. I'm sure there's an article on Athletic Interest for those that are watching and listening. There's an article on Athletic Interest on YouTube that will describe how Red Bull makes money in detail, from how they sponsor Formula One and all those other things. They couldn't care less about. They're not in the business of selling cars. The craziness that you see on the track, off the track, the jumping, the skydiving, all those things. That's where Red Bull focus.
So my question is that what are they then now trying to prove on the track?
Red Bull is trying to prove to you that whatever it is that Red Bull is involved in,
they will break limits. They are breaking limits.
Support greatness one way or the other, whether it's on the track, off the track. And what we support greatness in every other. When you see Red Bull, greatness is attached to it. And ultimately, to the average fan, maybe in the US or something, they are thinking, oh, this guy broke a record. Red Bull supported it. He might not even drink the energy drink, daddy. He might not drink the drink. But to them, do you get? So it's another way of marketing for Red Bull. And don't forget that when they came into Formula One, they already had money. It's not as if, I'm coming to Formula One. Nobody's even coming to Formula One to make money. I'm sure Cadillac that is coming in next season is thinking it will boost our brand.
This US market, we are beginning to lose it. We must get it back. That is the old status of Cadillac.
That's what Cadillac is somewhere thinking, that we need to get it back. Cadillac are not going to suddenly. Now, people don't drive. It's not a car brand that people pay attention to anymore. But we'll just pay attention. If they're able to get it right one way or the other, maybe they start doing well. You see that their sales starts to go up to that. Maybe Cadillac don't just make these big SUVs. Maybe they make smaller cars too that are quite fast. And every other thing, let me go and buy a Cadillac that can be fast too, that can compete. I don't have to drive a Ferrari.
Make I go buy ticket for American Grand Prix then.
Anyway,
if I was in the US, I would do that every blessed year. Like it's Deepola last year.
The thing about it is that everybody wants to do these things, but at times you just find yourself. Maybe person don't just encounter certain things, right? But yeah, you plan to.
Wait, my brother.
Before we leave, I know that the Champions League still comes next week, and Akin, it seems like that's what you guys are playing for at this point, because.
Well, who are we deceiving, or who am I deceiving if I'm telling you?
The Arsenal fans that legit believe that you can beat Real Madrid, though. Are you not part of it?
With which striker are we going to beat Madrid with?
Saka is coming back.
Is he a striker? Hey, Mama, is he a striker? Because you said that, and I'm supposed to be happy. See, the moves they are making. See, the moves Arsenal are making, like right now. Any fan that doesn't understand Arsenal for the past 5 years is still deceiving himself. The moves, if you notice, is from the PR. Now, the PR today was to introduce the sporting director. Everybody's excited all over again. This will be like what's it called, an opium that will last us throughout when Madrid start massacring us and all those things. So it's all strategy.
He's saying opium.
It's opium. See, because they introduce it small. Our sporting director just signed, boom. And mind you, this is not the time. Today is not the day he signed. He has signed long time ago, but they were just waiting for, what is that moment that will just get people not talking? Arsenal is not just a soccer in the business of soccer now. They're in the business of PR, bro. They are social media influencers now, bro.
No, as Red Bull, as Formula One has taught us, you need to package, you need to
You
brand.
need
It's
to
a brand,
package.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what every sport are trying to do now. Even tennis, Djokovic, they vex. With the way the sport day right now, it is not even. It is not like Formula One. It's not. It is not like some of these sports. What is happening? What is happening? So I think a lot of sports are actually paying more attention to like how do you make this a global brand? Like how do you get people involved?
Yeah,
To
and to be
like
honest, that's something that tennis has failed to do because
tennis has failed woefully, and that sport
like
is so fun. Jeez.
and like Formula One, tennis is another difficult sport to go into. If you don't have financial backing,
My one
like
question is that why is it that all these years, after all these years, we still have just like 4 Grand Slams in a year? I'm sorry.
Because it's majorly because they are not making the sport attractive to investors and sponsors. Because that is where the chunk
Exactly,
comes from
exactly,
sponsors.
and that was the very first question I asked myself because it all makes sense because at the end of the day you're like, okay, you have, and the funny thing is that there are more tennis players that are actually coming in, and trust me, having played that sport for the past 8 months, bro, to get into tennis is hard.
yes, like I
It's
said, like
expensive.
Formula One to get into tennis, like Formula One
Even
tennis to get into
I'm talking about the athletes now. To get into it,
yes,
like athletes, is expensive. Do you know? There's the academy where I did website we just I mean I they take pictures and maybe just they do some get into the business of playing once in a while. There's a man that comes that brings his child, and one of the reasons why I sabi was that the child was now one of those childs who say they had everything handed to them. You understand? They know really you go know from sports in sports you go know which athletes that one he struggled to buy shoe or he struggled to buy this thing. You understand? You know one that he had everything, so you can tell from their play. So that guy they always they play anyhow. And the man said, "See, guy, you know how much they pay for you every month? 2K dollars, bro. 2K
that's a
dollars.
lot.
It's a lot, and we never talk about say, and now every time they change racket, they restring rackets every now and then. So I look at it, I'm like, ah, nah, this is fake.
Have you guys not seen King Richard?
I was
The
thinking,
story of
yeah,
Serena Williams, Venus, and their father. Tennis, Formula One, those two sports are very, very
But
difficult to get.
wait. You do know that the sporting culture in US is quite more expensive than anywhere in the world. You do know
I
that.
know,
yeah.
but wait,
I think it's better in Europe. It's better to actually get
It's
into
it's even
better. It's way
expensive,
better in Europe.
but it's expensive too in Europe. Don't forget
Yeah, I'm
that.
not. I'm not saying it's not expensive, but
Yeah,
when you
the
when you
thing
do
is,
comparative analysis, the expenses in Europe is not as crazy as it would be in US. Like this particular academy that Ake is talking about, that somebody's paying $2,000. I bet it to you that they might not be paying more than 400, 500 euros in
Oh
Europe.
yeah, definitely.
Take basketball as a case study. Take football. Like there are academies in Europe that will take you in without you paying a dime. It cannot happen in the US, sir. If the
no,
talented ones
it
will be on the
depends.
street playing,
The
It depends on the
the
sport.
talented ones sef no get the opportunity. That's the
Yeah,
problem because of the
I think
gap
for the
in terms of
US market, it depends on the sport because like I mentioned athletic interest earlier. There's another article about this that you guys are talking about. If you watch how do I put it? Zlatan said the same thing to when he played in the US that for soccer, football, what we know as football normally, what they call soccer, is extremely expensive in the US. Extremely expensive. You are paying ridiculous money and all those things. Applies to tennis. But when you see sports like baseball, the NFL, American football, basketball, there are programs that have been set down for years, whereby the paths, the trajectory to make it into those sports cost you little to nothing. Do you get? You see people playing AAU basketball, playing different levels, AAU football, and every other thing. That structure is there. Those sports
then
like
but
sports in the
there's
US.
also the but of that. The but of that is that guess what? During the draft, like how many people did they even get?
Akin, in any sport, forget drafts. In football, the way football is prominent in Europe, whereby LMJ, maybe if he was born in Europe 30 odd years ago or something, and he was playing football in Europe, blah blah blah, an academic season, the percentage of those that make it from being signed at that level to going pro is less than 7%. Going pro in any sports, let's not lie to anybody, is extremely difficult. But where the structure helps is that I mentioned baseball, NFL, and then basketball in the US. It's like they're like the culture, especially basketball. For NFL, you still need gear. For basketball, they just need to find a rim. People have started playing already. You get that way, they are honing their skills. AU, there's AU program. Watch, listen to NBA players talk. They've known each other since they were like in high school, before even high school, because of that AU program whereby they've traveled they were in the camp for weeks. So the government has sponsored those sports in a way that you can break through into those sports, and they make their money when they tax you later in the future. That doesn't necessarily mean that you will go pro or you will make it, because the same way you are talented is the same way the next person is talented. So how do you set apart? So going pro is a different ballgame entirely, but the structure helps. Imagine, allow me deviate for a second. Imagine we had half of that kind of structure in Nigeria, whereby you are going to gain, like we gained admission to AU because you are playing football. Do you know how that sounds? Like you get admission into AU because you are playing football. There's a structure there that ensures that, oh, you can go pro. And if you don't go pro, you can finish your degree and find a life outside that. Maybe you go and work as a scout, or you find a job or something. But it changes your life completely. It takes. Let me give you one example. Derek Rose now, for example, he has retired. He's going to be a Hall of Famer at some point, regardless of the injuries. Youngest MVP ever. His elder brother, talented basketballer. They grew up in the slums of Chicago. Gang wars and all those things stopped his brother from making it far in basketball. The brother decided, you know what, I would die if Derek Rose does not make it. It protected him from all the gang wars. They're from a poor family, but the structure is there that people see you on the floor, on the court, and the hood playing. Suddenly, everybody knows in the hood that guy can play. Scouts are going to come in, you join AAU programs, you go to different schools. And where another beauty about it is that for these major three sports is, go and check the list of the number of NFL players that have been drafted into baseball. Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Deion Sanders, just to mention a few, were drafted into both baseball and NFL. They were playing both sports in secondary, in high school and university. LeBron played football and basketball before he chose basketball in high school. Draymond Green did the same thing. So that structure is there for those sports. But for you see sports that are not prominent in the US, how many, aside Francis Tiafoe, how many US tennis players can you call? Obviously, the GOAT, Serena Williams, is there. She's the Venus.
There are plenty. Let's just put it like that.
No, I'm just saying that in terms of like the ranking and everything, how many of them would you say
the high caliber ones?
Do you get? It's not a sport that.
But if you see my issue with tennis is in the US. I felt like if US had very good players, they would have pushed tennis very well. It's the fact that it is not always consistent. Like there's always an ebb and flow when it comes to talent in tennis. Look at when Naomi has Osaka, though she also has Japanese influence and all of that. You can say the same for Otani in baseball, but directly or indirectly, it's almost like the whole influence in baseball is such that every other talent all over the world will drift towards US. So it is always easy when they have
that's where the market is in a way, though.
Yeah, that's where the market is.
I know. I'm telling you. Like, imagine if US had like 5 top 10 players in tennis in male and female division. I can assure you, the push that tennis gets, it will be crazy.
I get what you're saying. The reason why I don't agree with that is, even now that US has prominent players in football, soccer. Let's call it.
Please
soccer.
don't say football. Please, I use God to beg you. Don't say football. The US national team is trash. Please.
No, I'm not saying that.
See, I will kneel down. The US football national team.
I'm going somewhere. Now, let's not forget that whether the national team is trash or not. American investors and American money controls European football. Whether you guys like it or not.
That is my point. The reason why they've not been able to do it for football is because they don't have talent.
No, it's not about not having talent.
No. I think they are doing something. They are doing something brilliant now. Sorry, Ewale, for cutting you. So I was opportunity to be at one NWSL game happening around, and I mean, one of the owner we say we just say, I mean, one of the owners said we should come and just chill for the VIP section. So one thing that I noticed about them is that what they are trying to do now is that anybody, wherever you are from, come. So if you are from South America, come, they will buy you. So they are not even looking inward now. The thing is changing. They said it has changed from like 5 years, whereby they used to have, oh yeah, let's look within and all that. But no, a lot of people are not watching. So now people are now watching, tuning in more, because the game is now getting more skillful, because they're getting players from everywhere, from Europe. In fact, on the field that day, the players I was just seeing, I was like, who is this Japanese guy? Who is this Japanese lady? Who is this Japan? You understand? Everything was just so.
That means ultimately they are investing in the sports.
Yeah.
The lack of growth for soccer and all those other sports, aside those big three I've mentioned, has been lack of investment and interest. The US, the reason why I know Elementary mentioned I should not mention the national team for the US. There's a reason why the American national team, up until a few years ago, where Spain became world champions and everything, there's a reason why the minute the FIFA Women's World Cup comes into play, your favorites will be US. Do you get? Like, your favorites for the sport will be US, because after women's football was banned for 50 years and it came back, the US, as the rest of Europe and the world started developing women's football, America followed suit too, and they invested in it, and it yielded dividends. So you can't necessarily know whether you have talent like Brazil in football or not until you invest in that way. And the problem you might have is convincing the young ones that, you know what, play football the way you play basketball. There's no interest. It's going to be difficult. But ultimately, the government needs to help them invest in the sport. And to wrap this whole stuff, because our time is fast spent, for tennis itself, the lack of growth is not even just from the US alone. It's from the bodies, from the ATP, the WTA itself. They are the major problems. They fail to evolve. They have failed to ensure that grassroots tennis is easier to break through. Tennis is still, whether you're in Europe or anywhere, it's still a big deal, whether you break through or not. You need sponsorship, money, and for football in Europe, it's the complete opposite. You can be a guy that is from the slums of anywhere in the UK or in Finland, or you can be Kvaratskhelia in Georgia and still make it big. But the probability of a Georgian making it big like that in tennis is like this. It needs sponsors. Like, it needs a lot of sponsors. So that's the WTA, and they fail to evolve. I can mention something about Grand Slams. It's not, I don't even think maybe having 4 Grand Slams is a problem. How do you make the WTA and the other ATP tournaments, the other ones, how do you make them more attractive? How do you ensure that you are not only focused on the Grand Slams, whereby we're just waiting for 4 tournaments in a year?
I just feel like, to be honest, I feel like the only reason why I said there should be maybe more than like 4 Grand Slams right now is because of the influx of like so many players. You have, I mean, just concluded WTA tournaments in Miami, whereby you have a Finland female tennis player, the first one. So if it's going at that rate, you would have many more like people coming out from different places. And if you have more influx of players, you should start thinking of ways to just, you know what, not everybody's going to win, but give them something to look forward to, like make it more attractive, like you said. So that's one of the things, ways, and you look at the sport, it feels like as if the sport has just been stagnant. Nothing is
not as if the sport has been stagnant. They've not, even the NFL changed the rules to add more offense so that it can attract younger audience. Those that the WTA and the Tennis Federation, they don't care. This is how we play it, this is how we're going to play it. If you don't like it, go. You get, so the sport needs to evolve, and it's quite a popular sport. It's not as popular as maybe football, cricket, or basketball, or what have you, but it's still a popular sport. And more importantly, the reason why I'm very particular about the need to invest in grassroots and get more talents is, in this current generation, yes, Novak has not retired. He's still carrying the sport on his back. Alcaraz is helping him carry it a little. You see the rest. Zverev, Swiatek. Well, what's the name of this new number one? Sinner. All of you see the rest. They're as inconsistent as you and I.
Very inconsistent mopos.
When I was in secondary school, or even after secondary school and every other thing, you were either Team Roger Federer or Team Nadal.
Or Nadal.
Do you understand?
It's
And people
either
will
one
ask
of the
us,
two.
when we got to Ife and you enter fight Cameroon and people are watching tennis, you are either Team Roger Federer or Team Nadal. That time we used to call Djokovic the Joker because inconsistent and all these things. So that lack of superstar is gone. Because are you going to tell me that aside from the Grand Slams, which I'll probably pay attention to, the WTA tournaments, the 1,800 series that happens round the year and every other thing, the minute you announce that Alcaraz is not playing in this one, Djokovic is not playing in this one, please, who am I going to go and watch? So that's talent.
I think it's also very important for them to also participate, because a lot of these guys are trying to break into, like, for the major Grand Slam, they need to be seeded. So these are the tournaments that makes them like seeded.
Yes.
And ranked, also like worldwide ranking and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
if you're expecting audience to watch, you need to be able to make the sport enticing.
You know that if you had more talent, you can then decide that let's have more Grand Slams, because people would yearn to watch their players more. Imagine there's someone coming through that you really, really like, but doesn't make it to a particular Grand Slam, or maybe goes out in the first round or everything. You start yearning that, people want to watch him play, blah blah blah, and all those things. I'll give you an example in two women's sports. What Caitlin Clark did for the WNBA, in the sense that, for those that don't know, all the games of Indiana Fever next season are going to be
only two, except only two.
I'm going to be televised. Even there's no team in the NBA, even the Lakers cannot boost that record. 41 national team games, they cannot.
Guess what? And then one of the ladies came out the next day and said that's so unfair. Then they should do.
They don't get it.
Why are not they giving the same treatment to the defending champion? I'm like,
who cares about defending champion?
There's always been
ask many Americans. Who is the defending champion? They don't even know.
Let me make my point now. I said they have always been defending champions all this while before Caitlin Clark came, and nobody. I don't even remember the last five. I'm sorry. I don't remember the last five. If you ask me now, who won the WNBA for the past 5 seasons, I don't know. But you see that Caitlin Clark, I know they didn't win. No, they didn't even get anywhere to the final. But
famous. Everybody knows.
Let it be realistic. This is what it has turned to, and you need to just flow with it. And do you know what's so funny? Even the organization themselves, the owners of FIFA, they now understand that they have a superstar on their hand. Guess what? They went ahead into the market and beefed up the team. That's how forward thinking those guys are, because it's gonna be a big deal.
So when I say investing in talent, aside from Caitlin Clark, the biggest news this past week was the fact that Juju Watkins suffered ACL injury. March Madness.
Everybody was looking forward to her coming to
the reason why it was a big deal that Shams even had to break the news immediately was because of how good Juju Watkins was last season and has been this season. Because a kind of stardom she has in college, whereby she's already signed to Nike and all those things.
Yeah.
So the grassroots of women's basketball is growing to the point whereby Paige Buchers and co, they won yesterday, and it was a big deal in the US, whereby the coach was talking about the fact that I told her to go more talent. She started number 1 overall pick already. They're investing in talent. Suddenly, people want to see those talented players play. The same thing.
You want to
see them play. So the future for tennis at some point is you need to tell yourself that why is it so difficult for people to break into the sports? Hamilton is one of those people that ensured that there's F1 Academy where women race. There's junior racing at 5 different levels where you suddenly start seeing young black kids. Something that has never happened before. The talent pool for Formula 1 is so much that that's why Red Bull can afford to kick you after 2 races. But another person they come. We don't have that kind of time. So if there's a constant pool of talents constantly coming in, your sport will continue to grow. On a final note, there's this when president of UEFA, Alexander Cheferin, came on Rio Ferdinand's podcast during the Euros. He said UEFA makes about $7 billion euros a year net. That's the profit that they make from different competitions. They spend 96 to 95% of that money back investing into the sports, football in Europe. Why? Because they know for a fact that the minute we stop having all these talented players that we come and see every week, whether it's French League, or Champions League, or Premier League, or every league. FIFA does the same thing too, investing the money back. The minute we stop having those players, me, you, and Bright will tell ourselves that we're not watching again. We're not interested in watch. We're not going to watch one guy do his leg like a fish for 90 minutes. It's not possible.
Or
So,
do their leg like compass.
so it's not possible. So ultimately, talent dictates how this goes. I know that our time is fast spent. We have to call it a night. Hopefully next week we'll be able to talk about the Champions League more before, and Aki will give us his predictions on to how many goals Arsenal will win by for the first leg by that time.
I want to go and run, Jerry.
To our viewers out there, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Elemeje, please end the recording. T for thanks.